Sorry. Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're reading from Sri Guru and His Grace. If you've just joined us, um, Suvasini is in her car on the way to the airport where she will depart for Jagannath Puri, the home of Lord Jagannath, Subhadra, and Balaram Dev, where she will take a holy pilgrimage with great devotees, uh, alataya, as we say, of the same rank as His Grace Bhakti Ranjan Madhusudan Maharaj, Paramananda Prabhu, who runs the Govinda farm over in Thailand, and other great and stalwart devotees, and they will see the holy places such as the Siddhabokul tree where Haridas Thakur used to sit and chant millions and millions and millions of holy names of Sri Krishna. So we're blessed to have the association of Suvasini Meenakshi Sundaram, and perhaps next week, with any luck, she may broadcast from Jagannath Puri. I don't know. We'll see what happens. We're also joined today by that stalwart devotee, Pranashish Prabhu, who is also our great friend and collaborator in different projects which have yet to be seen, but we hope we'll see soon. And Teresa Lorette Mola, famous personage of Mérida, Yucatan in Mexico. I don't know if you know this, but her father was the governor of Yucatan, Carlos Loret de Mola. And she has a very famous brother who's a journalist in Mexico and a nephew also, Carlos Loret de Mola, who you can watch on different TV channels. He was a famous TV journalist and right now has like a YouTube program. And there's Hari Priya, who's also reporting in from somewhere in Ireland, a secret undisclosed location deep in the heart of Ireland. And so we're continuing with our reading of Sri Guru and His Grace. And Srila Sridhar is gradually drawing to a conclusion on this particular point. So he says, having accepted a spiritual master, one will find that his guru has so many disciples, and who will take from them also. His spiritual master will recommend some books for him. He will say, read Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. That will also help us to get so many gurus through the books, where we will find many references and quotations from many gurus. All of them have their contribution. And ultimately, we must understand that we have to enter into the land of the gurus. Everyone should be respected as guru that gives impetus to me to search for Krishna, to serve Krishna. They will all help to carry me to the center. And this is the most fortunate position, to see everyone everywhere as guru, to see that no one is our servant and no one is indifferent to us. That is our highest fortune, to attain that highest spiritual environment where everyone is our guru. Here, everyone is our servant, even our father and mother. We want to draw something from everyone in this world of exploitation. And then by renunciation, everything is eliminated. It is a deserted position. If we are to enter into the land of eternal prospect, then we must learn to see that all are our gurus and we are servants. That they are all gurus means They are all our well-wishing guardians. In that place, we shall imbibe help from everywhere. Their benediction and their grace will come from everywhere. They're all well-wishers, all guardians. They'll guide us towards the highest attainment of our fortune. There cannot be any objection to that. So, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, in this section and throughout our book, Sri Guru and His Grace, he's drawing attention to a sort of dichotomy uh, in the central ideas being established here again and again. I don't know if you're familiar with the idea of a dichotomy, but once I was teaching school and I had to teach dichots and monocots to the children. And a monocot refers to a seed which does not divide into two parts, like a mustard seed. It's a perfect globe, it's a perfect sphere. Um, or you could think of a peppercorn. A peppercorn doesn't divide into two parts easily, but many seeds do, and they're called dicots. Uh, like if you take a lemon seed, you can split that into two parts, and each part is exactly equal. So we get the word dichotomy. Dichotomy means there's two sides to a thing, like the yin and the yang, uh, or in Hegel, thesis, synthesis, antithesis, thesis, antithesis, synthesis, like that. The idea of a dichotomy means there's two equal parts. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur put it, he liked the idea of a moiety. He said there's the predominating and the predominated moiety in Radha and Krishna, or the Hare Krishna mantra. So there's this dynamic, this dichotomy in the central ideas of this book that Srila Sridhar Maharaj comes back to again and again. He circles around to this point. There's a certain tension between the idea of guru as all in all and this idea of being able to see guru everywhere. And this kind of tension, it's difficult to dismiss. You can take one side and say, well, my guru is everything. I don't need to go anywhere else. I get everything from my guru. But on the other hand,
What
there's
if
this
that is
idea,
true?
say again?
What if one feels that to be true? Like people who just need Prabhupada and they're happy with Prabhupada and that's it, and
Exactly.
believe that to be true.
Yeah, that's true. See, it is true. So that's the that's kind of the problem that's really being discussed or hit on throughout this book because uh, really, if you look at it, the premise of all these questions that are coming to Srila Sridhar Maharaj is that one. Well, Prabhupada's not here anymore. What do we do? And so there's a group of individuals who say, what do you mean? What do we have the teachings of Srila Prabhupada? We have his books, we have his letters, we have his lectures, we have all these different tape recording talks that he gave. So that's a vast amount of material. You can take a look at the Veda base, and there's thousands of pages of instructions from Srila Prabhupada. Why would you go anywhere else? You don't have to go anywhere else. He's everything. And so we got today, and I don't really know anyone who does this because I'm not that well versed in the latest iterations, of the Hare Krishna movement. But You get all these individuals who say, well, look, Prabhupada established the principle of the Ritvik guru, the idea that mm, from some remote location, uh, a disciple of Srila Prabhupada can initiate someone in his name. So let's take that a step further. He's gone on to the great beyond. He's not with us anymore physically. But just as when he was in India, I, you know, could initiate on his behalf. Well, now he's in the great India and beyond. I will continue to initiate on his behalf, but I'm not really the guru. That's him. I'm just this sort of Ritvik person, sort of a stand-in. You will be a disciple of Srila Prabhupada because you can follow his teachings and the books and letters and so on online, you know. Uh, so that's an idea, right? But then there are others who will say, oh, no, you can't do that. To be a disciple of Prabhupada, you would have to have been here when he was alive, right? So, so there's this thing that the Prabhupada fans and purists, and not only Prabhupada, but the fans and purists of Srila Sri Maharaj, Govinda Maharaj, Acharya Maharaj, Shanta Maharaj, whoever it might be, will say that, my guru is all in all, and that's it. You can't go beyond that. He's the sum total. Uh, and so this is, that's a very prominent idea. Uh, the idea that you can take shelter of Srila Prabhupada himself today through some intermediary, it's tricky because even in one talk, Srila Prabhupada he'll contradict himself. He'll say two completely different things. And then you have to decide, well, what's really real here? For example, they'll say, well, who can be guru? And Srila Prabhupada will say, well, anyone who's sincere, chanting Hare Krishna, following the principles, they know the teachings. Well, why not? And then in the same lecture, he'll say, of course, only a pure devotee can be a guru. And then in the same lecture, he'll say, well, a pure devotee means someone who's coming directly from Goloka Vrindavan. So then you have three different ideas expressed in the same half hour by Srila Prabhupada. Who's coming directly from Goloka Vrindavan? Are you? Am I? You know, who follows perfectly all the different directions given in 10,000 pages of letters, 100,000 pages of books, and so many talks. I saw a nice post that was circulating a while ago where someone said, well, when we were staying in uh, New York City with Srila Prabhupada, one day there was a note on the refrigerator that said, number one is health. After that, uh, chanting. After that, read the books, you know. So then devotees will argue from that, well, if health is number one, the most important thing is eating spirulina plankton, because spirulina plankton, we all know that's the best thing for health. Or in the Los Angeles temple, there was a devotee, Urjaswat, who loved this book by a man named Jethro Kloss, who advocated the use of different kinds of herbal teas for different problems. And so if you're not using those herbal teas, then you're not following edict number one, which is health is first. So given that there must be contradictions, how do we resolve the contradictions? Any good coach of any football team will look at who he has and then think, all right, um, you know, you guys are pulling too much to the left side of the field. Kick the ball to the right side of the field. And maybe for that point in time, in that particular team, that particular game, that's the best instruction. But if everyone from now till kingdom come is going to, pull the ball to the right because that's what the coach said, this is unrealistic. It's the point of view of an immature devotee. See? So we do get uh, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, speaking with astonishing clarity and force, telling us that Guru is God, Sakshat Darit Vena Samasta Shastriya, Uktas Tata Bhavyata Eva Shadbi. All the scriptures say, Sakshat Darit Venas, Samasta Shastriya. All the Shastras, they say Sakshat Darit. Guru he's Krishna himself. He's God himself. The sadhus see him like that. So, as we say in Spanish, no hablar con pelos en la lengua. This verse, it doesn't mince any words. It's telling us directly. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is telling you that real Guru Bhakti, it demands, exclusivity, surrender, chastity, worship for the Guru. My Guru, he's not one teacher among many. He's my connection to Krishna. He's my shelter, my axis, my center of gravity. Or, Narottam Das Thakur, he says, Sri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Sadma. The lotus feet of Gurudev are the only abode of pure devotion. And so Kevala Bhakti Sadma, it means not that there's many different shelters, ashrams, there's one, the lotus feet of my Guru. So this is chastity. But Sridhar is pointing out here in this book, in different ways and from different angles of vision, that chastity to Guru, it doesn't deny hearing from others. Uh, the idea of chastity means we understand what my instructions are from Gurudev, but sometimes I need some help to be able to carry that out. So then in the 11th canto of Bhagavatam, we get Krishna speaking again, not to an anguished Arjun who's trying to understand war or anti-war. What's my position? He's talking to a highly elevated soul, Uddhava. And we can say, well, of course, Arjun, he's a great devotee. There's no doubt. He's an intimate associate of Krishna himself. He's in the pastimes of Krishna. He's married to Subhadra, Krishna's sister. They're brothers-in-law. How more intimate could he be? But on a more external level, it can be argued that Arjuna is a Kshatriya. He's not considered to have the highest adhikar or qualification or criterion in terms of understanding the inner teachings or theology, if you like. Whereas Uddhava, being a Brahmana, he's naturally more inclined to that. So it may be argued that Uddhava, he's a more advanced devotee. He's in contact with the gopis of Vrindavan. So when Krishna is speaking to Uddhava, he's not speaking to a beginning devotee. He's not speaking to an intermediate devotee. He's speaking to a very advanced devotee. And Uddhava is concerned because, in a real sense, Krishna is his guru. So Krishna's telling him, I have to go. The whole Yadu dynasty has to go. I won't be seeing you anymore. This is goodbye. And Uddhava wants guidance. He loves Krishna. He loves the teachings of Krishna, of course. but he's thinking, well, where will I go for instruction or spiritual advancement once you're gone? And Krishna recommends to him the teachings of the Avadut, who says, Nyahe kasmat gurur jnanam shushtiram syat supushkulam, that perfect and steady knowledge does not arise from only one teacher. So this sort of dichotomy, this back and forth play between the teachings of the original guru and help that we get from others. Uh, this is a question that needs to be resolved through spiritual realization and contemplation, and especially by more advanced devotees. Um, so the Bhagavatam is giving us a, a deeper concept. There's surrender, but there's also gradation. And so I'll continue with the reading. Srila Sri Rama says, still there's gradation. Just as in the very existence of God, there is gradation. So it's kind of a subtle point, but if there is gradation, even in divinity itself, well, we may also see gradation in Gurudev. Still, there's gradation, just as in the very existence of God, there is gradation. Vasudev, Vishnu, Narayan, Dwarkesh, Mathuresh, Swayam Bhagavan Krishna. There are so many levels. Gradation is always there, according to our inner position, so we must not be afraid. So naturally, when we're in the school, the teacher at the school will tell us, uh, don't go outside the school. This is all in all. But we're always in need of guidance, and so we have to take some guidance in order to understand the 100,000 book pages of Srila Prabhupada's commentaries and translations, 10,000 pages of letters, instructions to different disciples at different times and places. Uh, Gradation is always there, Srila Sri Rama says, according to our inner position. So we must not be afraid. Of course, there is a time when we're surrounded by an unfavorable environment. The association of a real saint is very rare. In that stage, we may be warned not to mix with the Mayavadis, the Buddhists, the Shankarites, the Nagababas, and so many other groups of so-called sadhus, so that we may not run hither and thither only to find a guru to get any advice, to save us from such unfavorable circumstances, to protect us. We're warned. Don't try to see guru everywhere. In a particular stage, however, when we already have a taste for the real truth, we're taken to that plane where everyone is our guru, helping us advance toward our destination. This caution, what we were saying before, the caution, chastity, is valuable in the beginning because there's so many cheaters who want to devour us. At that stage, especially, to help us proceed toward the goal, we must exclusively concentrate on our guru, avoiding the Buddhists, the Mayavadis, atheists, and all those who wear red rags in the name of sadhu. Still, in every sampradaya or religious tradition, that trick has been used. Only listen here. Stick to the words of your guru, the advice of your guru. Don't try to mix hither and thither, to run here and there to get advice. So many teachers are the enemies of your guru. They're not preaching the real truth. That warning is necessary in some stage. Don't try to see guru everywhere, because in this world, so many men in the dress of sadhus are going on with their lower campaign. This warning should come in that stage.
Hmm.
So, the Avadut is not being presented here as a beginner. Uddhava is not a beginner. The Avadut in the Bhagavat chapter, he's not a beginner. He has direction. He's giving direction. Uh, the concept is the absolute focus on Guru is especially useful in the beginning stage, and later all may be our Guru. So we should keep in mind that this book, it could be a very dangerous book for some people, but the devotees who sought out Sridhar Maharaj's advice in the 1980s when the book was published, those devotees were leaders in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. As far as everyone was concerned, they were the most advanced devotees. They were the 11 gurus, the GBC from the governing body commission of ISKCON. And they were looking for guidance after the disappearance of Srila Prabhupada. So they weren't interested in leaving aside Srila Prabhupada, but finding a way to continue with their faith in his absence. And so Srila Sridhar Maharaj is clarifying that secondary teachers, they don't replace the primary guru, but uh, they're echoing his teachings. Like just the other day, I was trying to paint the sky, and it's very difficult to do because as the sun moves, the reflection of the sun and the clouds creates different colors, and the sky may start out royal blue, but then gradually some red comes into it, and then you'll see, well, it's orange too. Uh, and actually, so many different colors. How do you create that? You have to mix in a little white, actually maybe a little black. How do you get that? And so I'm painting a sky for a few hours until my eyes get blurry. And then I feel, all right, maybe I've got something. And walk outside to catch a breath and look up at the sky. And now it's a beautiful sunset. And I look up at the sky and I think, well, who painted that? How do you do that? And then the sky teaches me, paint like this, you know? The sky teaches me, you can't do this. A higher power painted that. So then I'm learning from the sky. So I may have had some art teacher somewhere who taught me how to paint the sky, but I have to also be able to look out and see, well, look at that. Who painted that? How was that done? And so if Krishna consciousness, if Krishna consciousness is true, uh, it can't be only one representative of God of Krishna consciousness who teaches. Otherwise, we come back to Christianity where they say, well, God had only one begotten Son, and only through Jesus Christ will you be able to know the truth. And that seems to me superficial. It always has. Uh, it seems to me that if divinity is real, there must be many, many representatives of divinity, avatars, uh, expansions, uh, gurus. So we continue with the reading. I don't know. What do you think about that, Pramashish? That was sort of my prepared comment on this section. I hate to keep coming back to the same point again and again, but you
Yeah,
know,
because we spend our life trying to understand this because we do unfortunately lose our physical connection with our guru. Um, Generally, just because of the our youth, and the gurus are usually older and whatever. Just it just seems that way. And then you do need constant guidance, and you're looking right, left, and center, and it's easy to be bamboozled.
hoodwinked,
By
fooled,
yourself, by yourself.
bamboozled, taken in, cheated. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
but I'm
you
not
know,
saying that that person is cheating us, but we cheat ourselves.
that's right.
Because Guru Maharaj
That's
said you
like
can
a
never
really
take the
interesting
Guru.
point, you know.
The Guru
Uh,
doesn't come looking for us ever. We seek the Guru. The Guru doesn't call us to his house. Come on in for a cup of tea. Come on, I have something to tell you. No, he doesn't do that.
Not so much, you know. In the Western tradition, we have more, you know, evangelization,
Okay, that's yeah.
but in the East, not so much. Yeah, I had some people knock on my door. Subakshini, I think she's got her hand up for something. I don't know. Oh no, Teresa, she has a hand up. I'm looking at my screen. I see a hand. Is that Tapanandini? Hello?
Dandavats, Dandavats. I was thinking about what you were saying about, I consider all scriptures sacred. I think the interpretation we make of them is the problem. That's why we need Guru, because Guru has the right interpretation in any scripture. And what you were thinking when Jesus Christ said, I am the only way, what was he surrounded of?
Right.
Who were there to teach the truth about the spirit? Only him. So what he said, it was that only through him, because there was no one else.
That's right.
And that is the position of the guru. He was between where people will get the truth about the love of God.
That's
Through
right.
the preachers? No. And
That's
I
right. It's
wanted
just
to
like,
read something about what Pranashish says also. Nuestros prejuicios, our
yes,
prejudices, are the ones that we cannot decide the behavior of a guru. Who are we to decide the behavior of a guru? We
yeah,
have to get,
these are very good points, right?
we have
So,
to get, you know, this king, oh, sorry, I don't, you know, that was, you know, he was the father of Chaitanya.
yeah, these are very good points, Tapanandini. So, for example, uh, Christ will say, don't listen to him. What do they know? And that's what we call acharya abhiman. It means at some point you have to go, okay, look, I'm the only one here who knows how to change a tire. So you guys be quiet. I'll show you how to do it. Or you're the kindergarten teacher or the mommy, and the kids are playing with fire and you tell them, Wait a minute, look, I know how to do this." That's acharya abhiman. So you have to consider the public or the audience. You know, Shukadev Goswami is speaking before Maharaj Parikshit, there's Narada Muni sitting there listening. Vyasadeva is listening. So what sort of discourse is Shukadev going to give? Suta Goswami, he's in this forest speaking to 10,000 different sages, yogis, highly advanced souls. What's his discourse? Jesus Christ is in the desert with some fishermen, and he's telling the fishermen, yeah, I'm here to affirm the old law. Don't kill each other. Okay? Uh, Thou shalt not kill. All right, remember that. That's a good one. Yeah, I came from Moses. That's all right too, you know. And don't have adultery. That's not a good idea. But if you're preaching to cannibals and you tell the cannibals don't eat each other, and you say, look, I know what I'm talking about. I'm the way. Listen to me. Don't eat each other. That's great. But your advice is for cannibals. So what level of discourse is that? On the other hand, you've got Krishna speaking Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. Now we're up here. Who's Arjuna? He's a philosopher king, you know. But then now we've got the Uddhava Gita. Who's Uddhava? He's this highly advanced devotee. Huh? So what the teacher gives can sometimes be discerned by uh, the disciples. Then again, what Pranashish was saying goes to our understanding of empiric knowledge, because whatever you can glean from empiric knowledge, we always have the cheating tendency to deal with. So whoever we're with, whatever the great guru is, you know, there's this point that someone made is you can wake up a person who's sleeping, but you can't wake up a person who pretends to be asleep. Huh? So you say, come on, it's time to get up. No, no, I'm not really here. I'm really sleeping. We hear the instructions, but we cheat ourselves by saying, well, maybe I'll do that next week, or maybe next year, or maybe next lifetime. That's not for me right now. I'm busy. And this is a big problem because there's a wide gap between what we preach and what we practice. Like here I am saying all these beautiful things every Sunday, but what am I doing during the week? You know, uh, am I really qualified to speak? Who is? And so taking the position of guru, it's a dangerous thing, you know. The other thing that occurs to me, just, you know, as a sort of a side point, is we're going on and on and on about, you know, what is the qualification of a real guru? You know, why this one? Why not that one? But we're also avoiding kind of deeper discussion about what constitutes a student. You know, uh, if we have a book called Sri Guru and His Grace, we could have a book called The Disciple and His Cheating Tendency, or something like that, you know, like how to be, it's always interesting how to be a successful student. You know, I teach at a school, so sometimes I have to tell the kids, well, you know, bring your pencil, bring a piece of paper, bring yourself, don't be late. You know, what are the qualities of a successful student? And one of our problems in the Sangha, or the Society of Devotees, is it's always easier to teach someone else how to be a good student. You know, the other devotees will always tell you, what, you're not eating spiritual, you know, spirulina plankton? You're supposed to spread that on your toast. No, no, we don't use toast. We use tortillas. No, no, we don't use tortillas. We use seaweed. Don't you know that seaweed is collected violently and that many tuna fish are killed in the collection of seaweed? You can't eat seaweed. And back and forth. You know, we get into all the trivia of what our godbrothers should and should not be doing. So it's said that it's much easier to be a saint than to live with saints. Which is, I kind of like, I get a kick out of reading, I'm reading a little bit this Catholic guy named Thomas Merton. He wrote a book called Desert Fathers or something, where he writes about the early Christians who they couldn't make it in the monastery for some reason or other. So they established themselves in a cave or a little cell way out in the desert where they lived on unleavened bread and, you know, I don't know, air. But their teachings always go to the point of how do we become humble? Really? What is it to be humble? What is it to give up everything? And that's a little stern because Srila Sri Maharaj is always warning us about too much renunciation. But one of the problems for me and for us and the people who are listening here who don't live in an ashram is, well, how do you maintain some sort of Krishna conscious connection? How do you maintain Krishna consciousness? How do you practice bhakti yoga or, Guru Seva or Shastra Seva or Vaishnava Seva if you're not living, in a temple that has bells and tells you, okay, go to the arti now and now chant this prayer and now chant that prayer. I never learned it. There's a nice bhajan, Bhaja, Bhakata Vatsala Sri Gaura Hari, that they sing for the prasadam, the boga offering at midday. And I was always ashamed of myself because I never learned all the words to that. It has lots of words. It's a sweet song. And I would go to that arti now and then and find, oh, I have to look at the book. I can't remember this song. And I'd beat myself over the head, with guilt, thinking, why didn't I ever learn that? But then I realized I never learned that because I was always out on Sankirtan trying to collect money for the temple, distributing back to Godhead magazines or handing out candies and getting donations or selling, Barry White records in parking lots. And, I would come back late, like 7 o'clock for the evening arti. So I never learned the proper words to the Bogarty song because it just wasn't that time slot was not available for me. So my point being, I was out on the street trying to convince people, read this ancient wisdom from 5,000 years ago. It will help you. Excuse me, sir, I don't have time. Excuse me, sir, I don't have time. Ah, you don't have time. That's right. Time has you. Have you thought about that? Kalasmi Bharatarshava, Krishna says, I am time, the all-devouring destroyer. Uh, yeah, your time is up. Have you ever thought about that? You're in the material world. You're a soul. Read this book. So I was out doing that when it was time to sing, Bhaja Bhakata Vatsala Sri Gaura Hari. And then when I came back to the temple, I found myself feeling out of place because, gee, everyone knows this song, but I don't. So what is our position if we're outside the temple but looking for some sort of spiritual connection? How do we keep that going? So I like the idea of these desert fathers living out in the middle of nowhere because that's kind of our position. We're very different people as Hare Krishna devotees and Vaishnavas. We respect the Christians and the Muslims and, Merry Christmas to you and all that. But, how do we keep the inner teachings of our Gurudev? And these advices that Krishna gave Uddhava, quoting the Avadut, yeah, we'll learn from the sky. Learn something from the sun, learn something from the tree and the mountain and the earth and the water. Learn something from, the mosquito. It's like, wow, that's really cool. The idea that, all right, I do have some, I did get something from my Guru Dev. I got something from my God brothers, but each God brother really has his own path and has learned his own way from Srila Prabhupada or Srila Sridhar Maharaj. How do I make my way? So what Srila Sridhar Maharaj is giving us here is a certain amount of comfort in the idea that we can make progress. And there is gradation. We can see there's gradation in different gurus, just as there's gradation in divinity or God himself. So he says, there's caution. He says in every sampradaya. So when you're in the school, right? When you're with the teacher in the school, of course he's going to say, look, don't listen to that other teacher. They don't know what they're talking about. Listen to me. That's a given, but it's a trick. That warning is necessary, right? Uh, so he says, in a certain stage, hang on. I said, in the lower stage also, to keep up and develop our attention and devotion towards our guru. So much help should come from our senior God brothers. They will help us understand the greatness of our guru in different ways. They're also doing the work of Shiksha Guru. But when we enter in the kingdom of service, then of course everyone will help us. It is also said that we may have an inner attraction towards Vrindavan, and our inner awakenment may be in the service of Krishna of Goloka. But if we mix with so many sadhus in Vaikuntha, then we will be hurled down to Vaikuntha. In a certain stage, we should beware of bad association. So in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami has said, Sajati ashaye snigde sadhu sangha svatubare. What sort of saintly persons shall we try to mix with earnestly? Those who are in our line, who have the same high spiritual aspirations as we do, and who hold a superior position. To associate with such saintly persons will help us the most to progress towards the ultimate goal. There may be obstacles, but if at heart we are sincere, the environment cannot deceive us because God's inner help is there, cooperating with our sincere inner need. Nahi kalyana kaschit durgatam tatagachati. What we want from our innermost hearts cannot but come true, because Krishna knows everything. There may be some obstacles, but by Krishna's help, they shall all be eliminated, and our innermost aspiration will be crowned with success. So I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it there. That was about an hour. But so it's a tricky question, and what Srila Sridhar was just saying, he's considering, all right, I'm speaking with the most qualified disciples of my god brother, Srila Prabhupada. And they've come to me so that I can help them. And here's what I have to say. Don't be absolutist with your disciples. The disciples should not be fundamentalists with their gurus. There may be possibilities to look outside. And this book is complicated because now that was a few generations ago. Now we're in a different generation, and naturally the disciples will be partial to their gurus, and the gurus will be partial to their disciples. But there's a caveat, like caveat emptor. Caveat means beware, you know, caveat. It's a good word, Latin. If someone says, I am the successor of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, because all of you are cowards. The rest of you are all demons. And first of all, you're not Brahmanas in any sense. Second of all, you're not even from India. So people of India are superior by right and birthright. What you're doing is called cultural appropriation. So none of you, in any sense of the word, can really be Vaishnavas. Well, let's just end the discussion there. And if I look at, you show me a list of names of people who claim to have been disciples of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, Govinda Maharaj, et al. And I can go down the list and I can find fault with all of them. Well, Govinda Maharaj said, don't be drain inspectors. We're supposed to be bees who taste the honey, not flies. I believe it's counterproductive for Hindus to define the rest of the world as being non-Hindu. If your faith has any truth to it, it should be universal, right? The Christians believe that Christianity is universal, and you could be a Chinese Catholic or, a Buddhist Christian. It doesn't matter where you're born. They firmly believe that. They're ready to go with the Bible into Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, or Africa. Famously, there's Eduardo Galeano, I think it was. He said, as far as the history of Latin America goes, one day, the missionaries, the conquistadores, they came to Mexico, and we had the land, and they had the book, and they said, we're going to do something miraculous. Watch, close your eyes. And we closed our eyes. And when we opened our eyes, we had the book and they had the land. So the other day, the Jehovah's Witnesses knocked on my door, and I opened the door and said, hello. And they said, hello. And I said, you are Lupita. I said, okay. How are you? I said, well, how I am depends on who you are, because you're probably from some organization. Why wouldn't you tell me what that is? Oh, yeah, well, we're with the Jehovah's Witnesses. That's fine. The Jehovah's Witnesses are great people. Good for you. That's not my belief, though. And, have a nice day to you. And my wife said, why do they do that? They go to door and they push their thing. The Catholics, they don't have to push it. And I said, yeah, they don't, because 500 years ago, they came with the sword and the cannon, and they convinced everybody at the point of the sword, hey, this is a real good way to look at things. But I'm getting off my point, My point was the Catholics, the Christians, the Protestants, the people of the book, even the Muslims, they believe this is a universal truth. Anybody can do it, So I believe Krishna consciousness is a universal truth. Why would the Hindus not believe that? So for the acharyas who are going out and telling people, well, only the Hindu can be acharya. That's not what Srila Prabhupada taught, and he was my guru. That's not what Srila Sridhar Maharaj taught, and he was the guru of Srila Prabhupada. So why would you consider yourself a follower of Srila Sridhar Maharaj or Srila Prabhupada in his line and say that, oh no, the Western devotees are not qualified? Even to say Western devotees is to qualify it. It's like saying Irish American or Mexican American, So uh, those who go out and tell their disciples, no, I'm the only way. These Americans, they cannot preach Krishna consciousness. Okay, good for them. My blessings to you. Really, my best wishes, my blessing. But be careful with those people who are preaching that other devotees are bad people. That's not a good thing. That's not what Mahaprabhu told us to do. That's not what Govinda Maharaj said. He said, watch out for the Vaishnava Ninda. Of course, the comeback for that is always, well, this is not Vaishnava Ninda because they're not Vaishnavas. They're the lowest of the low, So anyways, be careful with it. I don't know. That's the end of my rap. I don't have any more blah, blah, blah. Talk to me, Pranashish.
Yeah, no, it's true. It seems that the disciple has the upper hand because he's looking at gurus and judging them and looking this a good one, bad one, little one, big one, in between one, where there's no examination of the disciple from the guru.
Yeah, that's a real good point, though, right?
That's a really good point.
What about the students?
Yeah, right. We have a free hand here, and we have the audacity to examine the gurus. But Srila Maharaj did tell us to keep one eye open.
Of course.
He says, you can examine me. He says, keep
of
one
course.
eye open
Yeah.
to examine me.
Yeah.
But
that's why I love Srila Sridhar Maharaj so much. Because every time sometimes I'll see a quote on the internet, and I'll go, wow, that's really right on. Who said that? Oh, yeah, that was Srila Sridhar Maharaj. Okay. So it's not just that I agree with everything that he ever said, but I like where he's coming from, and that he's like, look, don't listen to me. Why would you listen to me? I'm a backwards pushing man. They asked me to do all these things, and I didn't have the power. I didn't have the capacity. Please forgive me. I've done a lot of damage to a lot of people. He was not, I have come direct from Goloka Vrindavan to tell you the truth. But by his discourse and his demeanor, you could see this man has come from Goloka Vrindavan to give me the truth, We're very, very fortunate in the sense that, yeah, you're right. The real heavies, sometimes they don't go out and push it, Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj, he liked to sleep under a boat, He didn't go to the professional Bhagavatam readings and give his opinions. He didn't publish any books, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he published a lot of books, but he was a generous soul, That's why people like him, sometimes better than Bhaktisiddhanta, because he seems just so open and warm-hearted and generous, especially with the, grihastas and married folks. Bhaktisiddhanta had to be more strict because he was running, 54, 64, I forget how many monasteries. When you run a monastery, you have to put down the law. That's understood. Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he will tell you, I'm a backwards pushing man. Other preachers in the Gaudiya Math, Keshava Maharaj maybe, they were stronger in terms of proselytizing, But, so we're very fortunate to have this connection. Govinda Maharaj was very gentle. very sweet. He could be strong, I'm told. People tell me, watch out. He could have been but he was never that way with me. So my experience of him was he was very sweet, very generous, joyful. He wasn't dour. A lot of Hare Krishna devotees. In the 1960s, I was attracted to the Hare Krishna movement because I thought, on the one side, there's Christianity and Catholicism, and it's all about thou shalt not, and on the other side, this is joyful group of people who will do anything just to dance and chant the holy name. And I thought, what is that? That's wonderful. That draws me in. At first I thought they were all completely crazy. But then when I saw, wait a minute, there's the Veda, the Vedanta, the Puranas, Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, just all this very deep, heavy philosophy. I thought, okay, aquí me quedo paisano. Ahí es mi pueblo adorado, as we say in Mexico. That's my golden town. That's my golden pueblo. Ahí me quedo paisano, That's where I hang, my fellow compatriot of the divine. So I don't know. I really wish I could do justice to any of this. Who I really used to love listening to was Goswami Maharaj, because he had it down. And I learned a lot by listening to his talks and so on, but he could always take it to a higher level. Whereas, at some point, I get off the bus somewhere between Mathura and Vrindavan. The first time I went to Vrindavan was after Srila Prabhupada passed away. It was 1978, I think it was. He passed away in 77, I think. We went to Vrindavan, I think in 88. And we wound up we flew into Delhi and then took a bus, I think, to Mathura. And finally, we took a bus from Mathura to Vrindavan. And about 3 o'clock in the morning, that bus crashed into this huge electric generator, one of those massive blocks of concrete and steel. And it was one of those cheap buses. It had about 15, 20 seats in it. We were doing kirtan on the bus, and it smashed right into a electric generator. All the seats collapsed forward like that. And that was my first experience of Vrindavan. So when I say I got off the bus somewhere between Mathura and Vrindavan, I mean it. Okay. Well, I made Pranashish laugh. It's nice to be amusing. So I promised to have a talk with you sometime during the week last week, but I was so sick. I just really, I couldn't do it. But
what day is good for you this week?
Hmm?
What day is good for you this week? Next week, what day? I call you.
Oh, Monday or Tuesday is fine. Around this time, I'm up and around.
Okay.
Tomorrow, the next day is fine.
All right.
Let's
Good.
do it.
Catch you again.
Suvashini, are you still there? Are you with us? Are you in the
Yes.
airport?
Yeah. Yes, I'm still on the
Okay.
the call. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay, so listen, you're going to be in Jagannath Puri next week,
Yes. Yeah. Hopefully. Yes.
and you will see Madhusudan and Paramananda. I'm not lying about this.
Yes. Yeah. Well. Yeah. We will try to, because this time probably it's a bit late for everyone. It's 9:30 in India. When we 9:30 to 10:30, probably they will all be
Okay, but
sleeping.
listen, Srivastani, we're all big boys and big girls, and it might be a little bit past our bedtime, but there must be some way that we can get the opportunity to say hello to some folks over there in Jagannath Puri. And it would just be great to have 2 minutes of hello, how are you from
Yeah, that's
Paramananda.
I will try to arrange something. Maybe maybe a little earlier if it's okay with you. It's
Sure, I think so. That would
yeah.
be really,
So maybe 1 hour earlier or something.
that would be groovy, as we
I'll
used to say.
just see. I'll try to arrange something. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we could get some
I
extra
will.
benediction from Lord Juggernaut next week. That would be something to look forward to. All right, everybody. Well, thanks a lot. Thanks for checking in. If you're out there listening to the recording, I'm sorry for the state of my appearance. I've been a little bit under the weather. Hare Krishna and
Hare Krishna.
adios
Thank
and
you.
goodbye
Hari
to
Prabhu.
everybody.
Thank
And
you.
Gaura Bhakta
Okay,
Vrinda
bye.
ki jai. Hare
Jai.
Krishna and
Ayogi Prabhu ki jai.
adios.
And what's the
Go to Hari Bol. Go to Hari Bol.